Welcome back, everyone, to our Spice Breaker match between TSM and Misfits Gaming. A spot in the quarterfinals is on the line as we gear up for an explosive fight to close out the day. For Misfits, it would be the continuation of an incredible freshman year. For TSM, it's about living up to the expectations that they set for themselves a year ago. A lot on the line for both of these teams. Earlier, you guys gave us your picks for your top 2 spots. Here's a refresher, just so that you guys
Crumb's
know,
already half
and
correct.
you at home can hold them to it. Anything you'd like to change, though, going into the final game? Proskeren?
Well, I'm already bad because Team W finished first. I'm going to change. I'm going to say Misfits are going to take this game. Now, we've seen, 3 games from TSM?
What's the point of changing now? What's the point of
Just
that?
admit defeat.
What?
3 games from TSM, and they have not shown me any adaptation. Misfits have proven to me that this isn't just a participation award for them to attend Worlds, going from Challenger to the possible quarterfinals. They came to compete, and they came to win.
You see the fire in their eyes. Crumbs, I have a feeling you're going to hold fast to
Oh,
your
no,
earlier
I
prediction.
want to change right
All right, but
No, of course
I got some NA hope over here. I got to tell you what NA hope.
okay, but specifically in this matchup, why is it that Misfits will take
Okay,
down TSM?
Misfits playing to win. They played against WE, and they are bringing the fire. They tried aggressive plays. They went with Blitzcrank against TSM earlier. Like this team is clearly looking to go the distance, and they're making adaptations. They're improving. Sure, they lost 2 games in a row. Momentum is not their way, but they're just looking way better than TSM.
Hard to argue, but I bet you Kobe's going to try.
Honestly, what is the point of changing my vote now?
Yeah,
Right? There's only 2 outcomes. Either Crumbs is full right, and he's the winner, or we're both half right, and we're only going to be half right anyways.
Okay, conviction, I like it.
And we've come this far with North America,
There
right?
you
I can't jump off the
I'm
train
already
now.
on the train. I
At
might
this
as well go
point, you
down.
can't argue.
Even though most fans would want to jump off something.
That's entirely fair, but let's try and get something slightly constructive out of it. How does TSM win then? All right, because you've, in a sense, admitted that it is, a tall order for them to win this game against Misfits based on the way they've been playing today. What's the recipe?
Focusing on the early game. I think that the last meeting was enough to finally make them say, okay, we are going to put proactive thought into protecting the early game, and they're not going to have a huge deficit in the early game this time.
All right, we'll find out soon enough which team advances to the quarterfinals. Let's head over to the casters to get into the action.
Thank you, Dash. I'm Ty Breakthrough Time, bringing you the final game of today here. Still joined by old mate Spicy and Azael. We've come this far. We have one more EU vs NA rivalry match to determine, and this may be the biggest.
Yeah.
For you guys,
Yeah,
it's definitely
by far,
the biggest
I think.
tiebreaker. I think EU and NA is perhaps seen for unexpected reasons as well. Misfits being here, being in a tiebreaker against TSM. Look, maybe TSM at Worlds is something that hasn't always been the best, but for EU to be sending Misfits here, a team everyone thought would be 4th place, now fighting for 2nd in the group, is exceptional.
And I think no matter what happens for Misfits, this has been such an exceptional tournament for them. So much promise coming out of this team. In 1 year, they have made the growth from challenger scene to 2nd place in Europe. Now, challenging TSM here in a tiebreaker to go to quarterfinals with 5 players who have never been to Worlds. And I just think that's exceptional.
Well, the draft has started and already TSM have made a minor change. Kalista has missed her spot in the first ban slot, but she's back in on the 2nd. But John and Lulu being banned early tips hands very heavily for this early stage of the draft.
You have to think that Misfits probably don't want to give over Rakan again to Biofrost, who has been very, very effective on it. So the question does TSM ban it away, or are they happy to actually play into that, perhaps give it as a first pick? There's a lot of options, and kind of the thought process here has to really be looked at a couple steps ahead.
I am curious to see where Ignar wants to go for Misfits as well. Rakan is definitely something that should be banned from TSM. Wasn't sure if they were going to throw the gauntlet and say try your best. I feel like Rakan with Lulu Jana gone just gives too much to a team. Well, we'll see if Misfits change it up again and stick with something like the Blitzcrank Alder Thresh and kind of buck the trend of Ardent Sensor, at least for this game.
And that's a really interesting point because, if you're banning away a lot of these Ardent Sensor supports, Misfits has already shown that they are comfortable to play around this style, and they are perhaps trying to preempt what TSM was maybe going to do. Taking away the Taric, it is an Ardent Sensor support. It's something that Biofrost is comfortable playing. And now, for them, do you go back to something like the Nami, where they did not have success against Misfits in their first game? Do you go for something like the Karma? Or is Biofrost perhaps even pushed off an Ardent Sensor support altogether?
Yeah, it could force a weird support for TSM. I was hoping that it wouldn't be a Sejuani here as well, just quietly. Svenskeren could have picked Gragas, which is good into Taric, just, dispersing them all whenever Taric presses the ultimate. Not going to be the case here. They've changed it up, and very quickly.
The trust in Kog'Maw, though, here for TSM. That's their next pick.
We could be back into the Nami Kog'Maw once again. This is how Misfits actually beat TSM in game number 1 of their series. Many days ago, last week, they actually were able to defeat that, and famously, Doublelift starting very kind of greedy play, with the not Warlord's Bloodlust. He goes for the Fervor, he goes for a Cull instead of something with a little bit more HP, a little bit more defensive stats, and they did get taken advantage of. And it was the Gragas of Maxlore that was going bot lane, that was ganking Doublelift, and they put them very far behind.
And I think probably the toughest part for TSM here, with Xayah Gragas taken there for Misfits, is that TSM, they need to know what their support is probably right now, because they're going to keep losing bans in Phase 2 if they don't take it.
Yeah, I certainly think they have to lock in their support now. I'm guessing it's Nami or the Karma. Karma is an option as an Ardent Sensor support, and they are going to not go to Nami. I think this makes some more sense. A, because you actually have a little bit more support with those shields. It is more protection. While I do think Nami is stronger in lane than the Karma helps to enable you in the team fights more than the Nami, and that's really where TSM struggled last time.
And it's still quite good as a pick into Taric. Getting the extra move speed whenever Taric tries to stun you may help in dodging that one out. So there is absolutely merit in the pick. I like Karma more than I do Nami, just for protecting the Kog'Maw, giving them a shield above all else. It's still a very awkward spot that TSM have placed themselves in.
And we have seen the Kog'Maw be extremely effective, but we have not seen the Kog'Maw be extremely effective without a Lulu or a Janna, right? And that is what TSM is trying to go down, because this pick is so powerful when it is really backed up by these ultra-powerful shields and ultra-powerful peeling of the Lulu and the Janna and Karma. While it does offer protection, it's nowhere on the level of those other two picks, so we're going to have to see Doublelift positioning very well, navigating these team fights very carefully, or you certainly can get taken out.
Well, having a major threat in the middle lane as well, so that Kog'Maw isn't just the focal point. It's not going to be a one-carry composition. Bjergsen, I mean, Syndra is there, but I would almost prefer something like a Corki to be that second extra threat that can be auto-attack based, can get something from the Ardent Sensor.
And I think that that's exactly the kind of pick that Bjergsen might be going for here. I think it fits well into the composition, but the issue with that is, if you go for the Corki, you're very heavily magic damage, and that is why they're going to be going for this Jace. But remember, TSM can still flex this top. It could be mid, it could be top. Misfits is going to have to select their draft without knowing which lane it will go in. And then TSM will be able to reactively do their last pick to try to get the most favorable possible matchup.
Yep, it's a pretty wild pick there for TSM, one we haven't seen from them in quite a while, but Misfits, I think they know to finish standard. Maokai was banned, so not available as a tank, but Cho'Gath is, and Hansamite does lock in his Orianna, Old Faithful, back here in the mid lane for PoE.
And I just love to see a tank that has heavy engage in the top lane for Misfits, because I think that Taric, when utilizing offensively, when using the ult offensively, you can really force fights and you can get the maximum value out of it. If you don't have a lot of way to start fights, then the other team can kind of disengage when you pop the ultimate, and it can become so much less effective. This could be actually Karma mid.
I was going to say, I just realized that if they really want to playmaking support for Biofrost, they can change it up.
I think this is just Biofrost having fun, though. I think it's more likely to see something like the Trundle, even perhaps, in the top lane going over, but it could be the Jace top, so it is actually going to be Jace top, Ryze mid, so they're going to have to try to really bully out this Cho'Gath in this 1v1 in the top side, and this is so much pressure put on Hansor, because if you cannot get massively ahead of the Cho'Gath, I feel that Jace pales in comparison to the teamfight effectiveness of the Cho.
And TSM wanted this. They banned Maokai and Cassiopeia, knowing Cho'Gath was the only real tank left available. They picked Jace, flexing it between lanes as well, and they baited Misfits into saying, you can have the Cho'Gath, we want to counter it, we want to beat you in lane. It will beat it in lane very early on. The question is, can Alphari still get to the team fights?
And the question is, can Maxlore turn that around, right? The jungle interference sometimes can really make a big difference, and we've seen TSM 0 first bloods in 6 games throughout the tournament. if Jace gets put behind against a Cho'Gath, if Cho'Gath is able to outpace the damage with early Ninja Tabbies, early Bramble Vest, even the 1v1 can become a struggle. And from there, Jace offers almost nothing. You must win your lane.
Well, coaches will shake hands with each other for the last time in this tournament as Misfits and TSM are playing a very monumental tiebreaker. I mean, already day one just shook things up with Fnatic's Miracle Run, but as far as impact goes, I mean, two regions are really at stake here, both NA and EU. One of them will walk away disappointed. And is it Misfits? Is it the world's rookies that push it through? Or is it North America's veterans, the most dominant team that finally find themselves in an early game and push through to a win?
And trying to be the first North American team to get into the quarterfinals as well.
They broke the first curse. Now they're going to break the second. We'll see if they can get it done here. But oh boy. This is going to be one for the ages. I think no matter what happens, this will be epic.
Certainly will, and this is a game that is going to be remembered by European and North American fans, regardless of the result, for so long. There's such a fierce rivalry between these two teams and between these two regions. Power of Evil touting himself as the kryptonite to TSM. You know, taking them down previously in the past on UOL. Again, beating them earlier in the group stage when they were not expected to win at all. And we have to remember, despite the earlier victory for TSM, it was Misfits with a massive early game advantage.
A little flare flashing here. Sven and Hauntzer just trying to get some vision in. Double lift to meet Hans Sama here behind Biofrost, although Ignar also in the area.
It's not bad, actually. The early aggression. Both will get a recall off and they'll be okay. What we are looking at, though, through the early stages of this game, Hauntzer walks in, tries to find Maxlor at the blue buff, and that's the place we have to start this conversation off with. Maxlor will be on the opposite side of the rift, most likely getting a full leash towards the red buff, means that he'll be slightly ahead of Svenskeren on the opposite side of the map. But with the way TSM are currently posturing, I'm not sure if it's an early blue buff steal at level 1, or if he is going to go back to his red.
Yeah, and I'm thinking it's looking much more like that blue buff steal. We'll see what they decide to go for. I think, especially now that he's still here, it is going to try to be that invade for the blue buff steal, and they will try to make an advantage out of that. We'll have to see what the response is going to be, though, from Maxlor. This has been spotted out, so Maxlor can simply go from his red to TSM's blue and try to equalize through that, but jungle pathing does become more interesting in these kind of games. You have to be able to adapt. You have to be able to think on the fly.
And if you're TSM, here's the counterplay, right? Your bottom lane's a Karma Kog'Maw. It's going to push in at level 1. You immediately go towards the blue buff, try and place some vision. Maybe you push Maxlor away if he's going to rush single camp, but maybe you can just see him doing that and give Svenskeren extra time for even a gank on the opposite side of the rift.
This is also very interesting from Sven because he's actually basically saying, Maxlor is going to go to my blue, so I will get more from your side of the jungle than you will from mine. And the fact that Maxlor now has gone to this side of the jungle with 2 camps down means if Svenskeren can be defensive in his own jungle, can pick up his own red and blue, then TSM have gotten an early game advantage from the jungle path.
Yep, going to cover Hauntzer in top as well. Just smashes down the Scuttle Crab with Sejuani's E damage after the proc. And you can see Hauntzer trying to zone Alphari off the wave. This is a rough time for Cho.
It certainly is, and I'd also take a little bit of time to talk about the item and mastery choices from Doublelift in the bot lane. He received a lot of criticism for the fact that he started Cull, for the fact that he went Fervor instead of Warlords, this very aggressive style, very greedy style, many called it. He is Warlords, he is Relic Shields, so this is more defensive. But Hauntzer going to be getting ganked here.
Hits, Maxwell here ready to go, going to try and power slam out of the way, but doesn't quite get enough distance. Knocks Maxwell back in Hauntzer. I think at this rate he just knows he's dead. No, a late flash might save him, dodges the Rupture and gets out.
Good from Hauntzer to use his melee form first. Close distance, knock Maxlor away out of the targets as well. It was level 3 on the Gragas, opposed to 2 on the Cho'Gath. Uses that and holds the flash for as long as he possibly can.
Certainly patient play there from Hauntzer, but even just that helps to equalize the lane so much. This is not an impressive buy from Hauntzer. He comes back with a longsword. He did well to survive the matchup, but now he has to be in this situation where he's a bit scared. He's worried about repeat ganks, and you want to be smashing this lane. You don't want to be passively a better game here.
Well, you can see Bjergsen farming up in the mid lane, already gone back for the early tier. Power Reaver's also done a similar thing with their early lost chapter, so looks like things are going just fine so far.
The free's really nice from Bjergsen, though. The fact that he's actually able to hold those minions will mean he denies a few CS, a little bit of experience at least there in the mid lane from Power of Evil on that Orion.
Ooh, root there on Bifrost. Nice from Hans Sama, but Poke coming back. Doublelift actually taking it back, so TSM is happy to push the lane in, get their CS lead for now, although it has been evened up by Hans Sama with that big wave. And then looks like Doublelift returning with a dagger and a pickaxe as Sven is camping the top lane.
Yeah, you can see he's actually trying to protect Haunter to allow him to push it in. Haunter's out of mana, so Svenskeren essentially needs to be here to prevent any sort of gank. He wants to be there in case the Gragas does show up. This is not really an aggressive move that they're trying to make.
All right, you two. Ignar going in. Bifrost going to last hit a couple minions once Doublelift still returns. Misfits though will take it back. Yeah, maybe TSM can see it though with the ward there, and Sven going to retake control of the left side Scuttle Crab.
And a fairly steady early game, barring the one gank that happens in the top lane. Svenskeren doesn't do anything crazy. He just helps Haunt to get a recall whenever he's able to get a recall. That's surprisingly good from Alphari, but now Svenskeren's going to come back. And they won't expect the Sejuani to be here. He's expecting Haunter to go back to base.
Again, though, I don't really know if you can actually kill Alphari. He has his flash, it's still low mana Jace. They are going to try to do something, and Bjergsen is coming up here as well.
Alphari hit 6, so this could be bad news. Realm Warp up for Power of Evil, but Sven doing a lot of damage to Alphari. It's actually Bjergsen, excuse me. He's on the rise, but not enough.
They do get a flash, though. Still a nice roam there from Bjergsen. The wave was pushed up, so he's not really losing anything. They reset the wave, they get a summoner, and I would say mission accomplished there for TSM.
Absolutely, and of course, Alphari hadn't shopped yet. So just being on a Doran's shield means he is susceptible to dying to any kind of gank. Bjergsen finds some free time to get up there as well. Doesn't help with his mid lane control, but he's going to be fine with timing to be able to go up there essentially for free.
Trade back by Doublelift actually. Sama getting aggressive though on the Xayah, makes sense. He pulls the feathers back for a bit of extra damage. BF Sword there actually for Hans Sama, so certainly has the early win as far as flat AD.
Yeah, able to hold on a little bit longer in lane, get that preferential buy certainly will be helpful, but Doublelift is going to be rushing towards the rage play. He has the pickaxe, he has an early dagger, he's going to be looking for that timing, and when you do complete it, you are such a strong point, especially in comparison to Infinity Edge users who generally need a second item. And even the Xayah, while I think you're stronger on one item with the Essence Reaver than you are with the IE, you still really want that second item to get the most from it. So you're starting to get the CDR, you're getting the crit for the mana return. That's where he's the strongest.
Yeah, the one big benefit, of course, being the Ardent Sensor to compensate for slack timings will still be relatively strong, but yes, definitely looking for more. As much crit as a man can find. Doublelift on the other side will spike sooner, as you mentioned, but a lot of that I don't feel like relates to anything directly. TSM, their early games haven't been all that hot.
No, it's been very, very poor. You know, they are probably the worst early game team in the entire tournament so far. Their late game has been great, but you need to be able to get yourself there without being too far behind. And I would say that so far, you know, it is an early game gold lead, but when you're looking at the top side for Alphari versus Haunter, he already has his Bramble Vest. He's rushing towards Tabbies. He's gotten past a lot of the super early game struggles that you're normally supposed to have because of the gank from Maxlore. And then you're asking yourself, well, did Svenskeren get enough with the experience advantage, with the triple buff, to really outweigh that? And for now, I'd say no.
Well, you can see at least Misfits do get the Ocean Drake as well, so kind of alleviating some of the gold lead that TSM have accrued, but a very close game. 8.5 minutes through, and no first blood has been given up by TSM just yet. They could get their first one of the tournament.
They haven't got a first blood yet at Worlds. That's very tragic for TSM, but you're right. I mean, the slower start from Misfits, perhaps it is being nervous that this puts you into the quarterfinals. More patient play, more reserve play, but at the same time, Cho'Gath into Jace, you're expecting that to be slow from them. Orianna does not power spike in the early game. The Blitzcrank isn't there from them either. It's an Ardent Sensor user. You're expecting Misfits to start ramping up more around the 15-minute mark and try and stamp TSM down there.
Yeah, I really agree, and I think that Misfits are very happy with this early game because, while yes, there is Doublelift on the Kog'Maw, great scaling on that. Ryze has strong scaling as well, so does Sejuani. The scaling is very strong here, too, for Misfits, and I would say the biggest advantage is that of the double tank composition, is that of this Cho'Gath versus the Jace.
Ooh, Sven actually going in onto Maxlore here. Alphari going to make it first, of course, but the stun is going to land. Good flash from Maxlore, and now Sven happy to take the summoner and leave.
Now, he doesn't know where Bjergsen is, I think, which is why there was a respect flash paid by Maxlore. Benefit of the doubt that Bjergsen was there. He wasn't. He was close, though.
And you always have to know that once you get hit by the passive there from Sejuani, the ultimate can follow that up. If Ryze comes in, then that's another route. That's such a big amount of CC, and NA Jace.
NA Jace has not been great. 1-5. Flame picked up a win this tournament on Immortals.
Yes, the one was a Korean.
NA Jace.
Well, we'll see if Haunter can truly buck the trend.
Yeah.
Here on the Jace pick.
Important game here, right? And certainly not a successful pick for North America historically. Last year, Worlds famously, they really were failing with it in the top lane, although it was a very meta pick. North America never really was able to execute on the pick. They're sometimes able to get the lane advantages, but even with those, never really able to convert, never really able to find the snowball and close out a game.
Well, Ignar poking his head around to take the blast cone away. Continue that pressure in the bot lane.
And we are at a point where Power of Evil has got a single item spike as well. He's gone for the Morellos. Shout out to the Not Nash's Tooth build. So he's gone for the 20% CDR in a single item. Again, spiking a little bit sooner, lacking in health, but increasing in damage, basically, from what the build's going to provide from all of the spells. I like that. It gives an opportunity for the team to work around the middle lane pressure. The fact that he can successfully clear minion waves because he's also level 9 and start trying to make a play.
This is where it starts to kind of get hard for the Jace. With all this early armor, Haunter is sitting there shooting the Cho'Gath, and he's taking a significant amount of damage himself, even though Alphari is not really hitting his abilities. You really start to whittle yourself down, and the amount of sustain on a Cho'Gath can get to the point where you struggle to push him out of the lane whatsoever.
Haunter going to try, certainly, although Maxwell has roamed his way back up through the lane to try and get this first blood. Oh, Rupture lands. Haunter maybe knows what's up. There's the silence in. Can now flash away. Has to do it quickly. Great flash knock back onto Alphari, but Maxwell, he wants to dive. Ulti's going to push him to safety, and Haunter escapes again.
Haunter escapes again. Well done from him, but Maxlor's path thing has relieved so much pressure. It's actually a CS advantage for Cho'Gath, which is very, very nice. And we haven't seen Svenskeren really unleash the ultimate yet. He is level 8 on the Sejuani, but he's still just kind of farming it up, trying to get vision for his team, playing very passively. And you would like to see him get involved in some of these plays.
And it may not have proven successful with the gank, but I appreciate that he went for a lane gank when you saw the vision everywhere except the lane for TSM. So the one place he could have went for a gank, he chooses, and it was mostly successful in that the teleport was used as well as the flash. Alphari can hold on to his. Now that gives a window of opportunity.
It certainly does. And you have to give some credit as well to the fact that Sven's earlier topside visit did force the flash out of Gragas, because Maxlor had no flash for this gank, and if he did, maybe that's actually a dead Jace.
Maxwell sticking around for a little while longer, but good ward from TSM spots that. Lane gank attempt from Svenskeren, but his double is getting aggressive in the bot side stun. Not going to land. A Hans Summer going to get rooted up by Biofrost, forced to use the Feather Storm. Doublelift just walks out from under a Hans Summer though, in onto Biofrost, trying to chip him back away.
Lots of damage from both of these teams. Hans Sama gets the worst end of that trade, however. Ardent Sensor for the Karma means they're stronger, and they're trying to push that advantage.
Yeah, and they're trying to take this advantage, take it into the jungle here. Bjergsen roaming down. This could be the first major fight of the game.
Oh, red buff goes over to Maxwell. Now
Really
Svenskeren's got to book it, pass his way around the ball, does not want to get shockwaved.
Yeah, Sven actually anticipating a very early smite coming out of Maxlor, so he tried to preempt it. He tried to time it so that it would come down second, but it's Maxlor who gets the better of him there and takes away the red buff.
Yep, most Sejuanis will combo the auto attack when it's at 4 stacks with the smite, so he uses the auto attack and doesn't smite, or then tries to smite at the same time. So there's mini delay there. It was a bit awkward. Nothing that he wanted, unfortunately. Red buff just casually to Maxlor.
Yep, I will say though, for Bjergsen, this is a very strong point in the game. The initial completion of the Abyssal Mask against the 3 AP topside makes you very powerful. You can start playing a lot more aggressive. It's tough to get.
Maxwell going to knock him back. Alphari makes it in with a blast cone. Bjergsen here with the Realm Walk, maybe trying to join in. Good juke out of the Rupture from Haunter. And Bjergsen in support.
Haunter really doing a good job absorbing this pressure, and he's actually building towards a Blade of the Rune King, it looks like, accepting that he cannot rush the armor penetration because the lane has not been as dominant as he would like. He's now going to have to go more for that 1v1 style, the percentage HP damage against this Cho'Gath, and the lifesteal, honestly, did withstand all that returned him.
Yeah, it's defensive, it's split push build for Haunter. He's going up against the Cho'Gath, so it's a very apt build nonetheless. Just means that his pressure when he's grouping up to Siege will be significantly lessened.
It's also going to be really hard for him. They could actually be losing a lot of damage on this turret because TSM is on the bot side. Again, Maxlor up to the top side, playing around Alphari, going against the conventional wisdom in this meta of playing only to bot side, and so far so good with this red buff. They may actually be able to just knock down this turret straight up.
Looks like Haunter's just going to concede control, even Power of Evil roaming up, so going to just have to make a trade here.
it's a rushdown. We'll see if TSM can actually do this with their Uncensored, but not even close.
No, they're not going to win the trade, but TSM have the numbers advantage. They had the opportunity to keep Svenskeren down here, but with how fast Misfits got that turret down, I don't think they can push for anything further. They'll take the Drake, though. It's a slight edge, perhaps.
Yeah, and it's going to have to be one that pays off later, right? With that Mountain Dragon, you don't get any real combat stats. It's about, can you take an objective later with that? Can you rush down a Baron? Can you siege more effectively because of it? And to their credit, you know, in the split push, if Jace is going to be building something like a Blade of the Room, Black Cleaver split push style build, that will help him when he pushes up to those turrets. But definitely not the early game that Hauntzer wanted, although I will say Doublelift is at a really strong point.
It does also mean if they group up with Hauntzer around an objective like a Baron, they will take that down incredibly quickly as Bjergsen.
Yeah, he knows the shockwave's coming, flashes it. Dazzle also there from Ignar, so good for Bjergsen to get away. And again, such a surprisingly calm early game. Yes, Misfits especially are trying to be proactive, and now onto the Rift, actually looking to make a good leap for an objective here. You can tell the teams just don't want to give away too much early, and Sven, even behind, knows it's there with the ward in the back.
Do TSM really want to make their stand here, though? Bjergsen is flashless, and Jace is on the other side of the map. They have moved up their Kog'Maw, and with that Rage Blade completed and the Ardent Censer, Doublelift is very, very strong, but certainly still susceptible to the engages of the Gragas, the Taric, and the Shogun.
I guess the decision does go both ways. Hans Sama, the rest of Misfits, they choose not to commit to the Rift Herald. And you mentioned how strong Kog'Maw is. Well, it might be an Essence Reaver for Hans Sama, just needs the Zeal perhaps to start optimizing more as Hauntzer.
Oh, good knockback again. Hauntzer already used the flash, so has to try and maybe clear it away, but Face is going to give Alphari first blood.
Level 12 Cho'Gath does an awful lot of damage. Power of Evil being able to roam, but Hans Sama, no, they're good. Just means the free first blood.
Yeah, they get the first blood. TSM looking to try to push up on the top side, but all this attention Hauntzer's way has really limited his effectiveness, and now they stop the base from Bjergsen, and they're actually looking to try to catch him out, get him the Taric stun land.
Whoops, out of the way. Good from Bjergsen there to just barely dodge the Dazzle, but again, turret bot side goes down.
I guess Maxwell thought he was Season 1 Gragas in that case, was trying to one-hit Bjergsen. Doesn't work as planned. Means if Bjergsen doesn't have his ult, however, as they go back to the Herald.
Continued pressure, perhaps. This might be an overstay. Power of Evil could be caught out. He is going to get stunned up by Sven, but no one's going to chase down now. Forcing the flash out of the Sejuani. Alphari does teleport in, and TSM, they're happy with that.
Yeah, they do lose the Rift Herald, though. They get the teleport, and they're trying to pressure mid. Misfits wants the base, so we'll see if TSM can actually push up and get anything done here. Doesn't look like it, though.
Power of Evil looks for Sven, finds a shockwave, but just a bit of poke damage there. TSM, though, they've already pulled off the mid-siege, so turret advantage will stay for Misfits.
There's a lot of emphasis from Power of Evil on using his Shockwave just freely to do damage, not to secure the kills in any clutch moment. He knows that the fight had just ended and that there wasn't anything that was going to happen after. The wave was already clear. So he takes a crazy option and just throwing it out. Speaking of bottom lane, guys.
Hauntzer again. Alphari looking to chase him down.
Bilgewater not bad. Robsha is just barely going to tag him. Team's coming down, but I don't think it's enough for TSM. Maxwell, flash body slam, just going to try and take him down. Alphari with the ulti gets a second stack.
This plan for Misfits is really working out well. Hauntzer is going to have so much trouble finding any sort of effectiveness in this game where Cho'Gath can simply go to the team fights, can take over in that aspect, and really be a threat onto everyone from TSM.
I mean, Hauntzer's a bunch of gold away from being relevant even in a split push right now. He's currently staring down Alphari, who has a bunch of armor, and now 2 kills with 2 feast stacks on top of that. He's not dying anytime soon in a 1v1.
Honestly, at this point, I don't think he's ever going to be under threat in the 1v1. I feel like with enough armor stacking and enough feast stacks, Alphari at the very least is going to be able to hold even, going to be able to wave clear. And Hauntzer really having a tough time through all this focus, unable to escape there. Not much he really could have done, but you have to wonder, is he getting frustrated, pushing up that far without the vision, not really knowing where the other team is?
Well, saw this already from TSM. Doublelift was very far behind in his early game, and the rest of his team was able to pick him back up. And Misfits are also a team that does well with a lead, and they've managed to build one in probably the most unlikely place.
Yeah, definitely a place that you don't want that lead to be if you're TSM on the flip side as well, though. Jace being potentially irrelevant in that side lane means you may have to start grouping, and then you're grouping against that Cho'Gath. It's the teleport game right now, though, if we're contrasting top laners, where Hauntzer has the slight edge, and it means there's a window of opportunity for TSM. Not a big opportunity by any means, but a chance to make a play.
And honestly, at this point, you're almost just hoping that Hauntzer can keep Alphari in a side lane. And if you can have a 4v4 team fight, I think that would be a better chance for TSM right now, because if you get into a full-on 5v5 with the Taric ultimate used offensively, with Shockwave to follow up any sort of initiations onto Doublelift, I really feel that they will struggle to actually punch through the front line of the Gragas and of this Cho'Gath.
And the struggle is only increasing as well. TSM just lost another turret. Power of Evil's almost effectively solo pressure through the course of the laning phase does net them the outer turret there.
And the vision that Misfits have right now is around two different major objectives. They have vision at Baron, they have vision at the Drake. That's kind of absurd. There is nothing TSM could do on Summoner's Rift without phoning into Misfits saying, hey, by the way, we're going to the Baron pit.
We also have to remember, Misfits still have a Rift Herald available for the next minute or so, so they can look to actually pressure and try to crack one of these inner turrets. And I think, again, going back to the scene of the crime here, trying to focus Hauntzer, trying to set up a dive on him when they're so tanky, and then utilize that Rift Herald to knock down the bot tier 2.
Well, it's been summoned. So Rift Herald is going to get some damage done here. Alphari actually pushing Hauntzer off. I mean, at this point, Hauntzer, you can see Maxlord hitting that controller. He knows that the jungler is here. His team, again, very late to move over. Bifrost is available, but don't really think they can chase it down. TSM now finally trying to respond, but Misfits' vision that you pointed out earlier, Rusty, is making that almost impossible.
This is why you don't give Heralds to Hans Sama. You give them to Maxlord. He'll make the plays. He'll actually summon the Herald. They do get a tower with it, which is very important. It's one of the few inners that will be able to safely go down without any kind of fight, any kind of contesting, and at the same time, easy transition for another stack for Alphari.
Yeah, and he is going to be stacking up very, very quickly. Going to be such a threat. Already 7 stacks at 21 minutes here on the Cho'Gath, and a number of those are the non-minion stacks, which is so important because he can pick up at least 3 or so more just from minions, which is going to have a Cho'Gath sitting at 10 stacks, and that's such a massive threat in any team fight. So it's going to be a game where TSM has to have a fantastic performance out of Doublelift, I feel like. It really seems that Kog'Maw is the only character who's going to be able to put out enough damage to actually punch through these carries.
But is Doublelift set up to be the hero that TSM and North America need? He's got just the Karma protecting him. It's not a full shield, the Doublelift composition, and he's against the Cho'Gath that is that big. Shockwave, very relevant. I feel like those are the two things that might take him apart, but even his damage output against the Taric ultimate could be diffused.
Exactly, and the Gragas engage is another thing that you have to be very worried about. If Gragas is body slam flashing in onto Doublelift with the Taric ultimate coming down, with Cho'Gath flashing forward, can TSM absorb that type of engage and be able to fight back when they are with this Jace who's kind of stuck in this position where he can't really be super effective in the team fights, but also doesn't have side lane priority?
Well, I think at this point, like you said, TSM's kind of have to find either some picks or a 4v4 that favors them without Alphari coming in. Doublelift does have 2 items. Sven looking for Ignar. Good flash though from the Taric. Going to keep him alive. And Hans Sama getting aggressive, but Doublelift going to turn back around. Featherstorm forced out. Hauntzer actually walking over. Didn't really want to hang out on the side lane, but Power of Evil looking for the Shockwave forces 2 flashes.
Really nice there from PoE. The flashes off both the solo laners there, and Misfits with another advantage. The 3rd straight time they're looking to try to get a fight here.
Sven gonna get stunned up. Maxlord ready to bop him back into the team. Perhaps, yep, does use it. Forces Doublelift away as well. That's Insta Sven getting out for the Taric ultimate. He's gonna move them forward. Sven's gonna almost get killed, but he somehow escapes Alphari's fist. Bifrost, though, maybe not so lucky. Gonna take the damage and have to be the sacrifice.
They'll take the 1 kill, but major health advantages for all of Misfits. There's no feast, but there is a smite if they want to look towards the Baron pit. They have the vision control already established. TSM with no support.
Yeah, without even the protection of the Karma for this Kog'Maw. Doublelift is going to have to play this so incredibly well. Misfits have started up this Baron. I don't feel like TSM can afford to give it up.
PoE did so much damage to Doublelift there. If he had Shockwave, he was probably dead. Ignar, though, out the front lines without a fun for TSM. Getting engaged on Svenskeren. Forced to back away, but Hauntzer gets knocked up there. And Bjergsen just can't get out anywhere. Doublelift, little too far forward. Power of Evil takes him down. And now Hauntzer going to get ruptured on the other end of it. Following to the silence of Sven, trying to escape. But Power of Evil carrying his team to the double. And Hans Sama cleans up the 3rd.
That could be the end for TSM here in this game. They're getting outscaled. They're getting run over here by Misfits. Misfits right back to the Baron. It will be a free one for them. And Doublelift unable to use the flash to dodge either Shockwave or the root coming out of Hans Sama. And full control over this game.
0 kills in this game for TSM. Hope is absolutely fleeting for the roster as Misfits are starting to run away with it. The Baron's big. They even get a feast stack for good measure on the Cho'Gath as if they needed anything extra. Power of Evil is putting in some serious work in these fights. Doublelift gets rooted in place by Hans Sama, I believe, which is a big part of this, why they're able to do relevant damage. Bjergsen is just so far away from his team. He's conceded the fight. They know it's over. Maybe they shouldn't have contested the Baron like that at all.
Yeah, I mean, pushed out of the fight there by the frontliners. So much damage coming in from the backline as well here of Power of Evil and Hans Sama. Misfits' second seed in Europe, looking to take down TSM, looking to go to the quarterfinals on this game. But 2 games in a row, they've had massive leads, and they have thrown them. We'll see if they can actually hold on to this, or if TSM gets straight back in.
And last time Misfits had a lead and threw that one away, it was against a Kog'Maw, a very good late game scaling champion. Yes, the hope for NA is fleeting. The hope for TSM is starting to whittle away, but there is hope for any Kog'Maw composition.
And Power of Evil is ready to end this game by the looks of things. He went Death Cap for even finishing his Liandry's maximum impact at this stage of the game. And that inhibitor turret just melts. Sven gonna dive back in, try and look for something, but Tarakol's gonna turn that off. And there's Alfari looking for the stack, but Hans Sama grabs the kill.
I mean, this is looking so grim for TSM here. You have a split pusher who cannot win the 1v1. You're up against the Baron buff. Hauntzer could not be in a side lane, and TSM very clearly cannot stand up in the 5v5 right now. The gold lead is getting enormous. The mid lane inhibitor has been cracked, and Misfits, it feels, are very close to winning this game.
Svenskeren just throws his body willingly at the enemy team and will be made pay for it. And suddenly he's going to be the reason 2 inhibitors go down so quickly as well, just by dying.
It just doesn't feel like they have the wave clear though, right? You're in a situation where you need to force some sort of fight. You need to do something on this Sejuani because Ryze and Kog'Maw and Jace at this point are not putting forth the wave clear, are not putting forth the threat onto the front line. And here is the engage. Very clearly they're looking for it as a 5-man team, but really not much of a chance of this working. The Taric ultimate very easily comes down, and Misfits pick up an easy kill, multiple turrets, 2 inhibitors.
I mean, it's fine to say, okay, we're looking for it as well. I can understand the decision, and I'm okay with that. It's the choice to dash forwards, throw the ultimate, knowing that the only person you can hit is Maxlore. Hitting Maxlore, realizing it was a mistake, and starting to run away as if he didn't know before that it was a mistake.
Well, Misfits with that blitz with the Baron buff, able to take down 2 inhibs and push TSM all the way back, running out of room to play with on the Rift, and certainly running out of breath. 10,000 gold pretty much also up for Misfits, so they are 1 push away, likely this one, of sealing themselves a spot in the quarterfinals.
And they've played such a strong game here. Great game plan, attacking the Jace in the top lane. No advantage was able to be gained up there for TSM whatsoever. Maxlore rendered this Jace pick completely useless, and TSM have one last chance. They need a miracle fight here.
They're going for it very soon. There's the stun actually lands in onto Maxlore. Damage not enough though. Tarakel burnt. Inhib turret does go down. Power of Evil threatening with the shockwave. Haunter, he's going to get himself stunned, but no follow-up CC there from Misfits.
And that's good for Misfits. They slow play the game. Inhibitors, dead mid and top mean minions start to crash, and now they look for it.
They have to fight for this inhibitor though. TSM cannot afford to give up a triple inhib with this disadvantage, and they're looking for it.
Oh,
Sven is
that
very
could be
low.
a beast. Sven forced to flush out of the way. Doublelift doing what he can. Warmonth will kick in eventually. Sven getting the breach back. Vinegar with a huge stun. Everybody flushes out of the shockwave though. And TSM, they have to go now. I think this is their only chance to try and hold this game.
Their engage is just so weak though. I don't know how they go forwards. Misfits just play the game slow. Nexus being threatened by super minions right now. It should just be 3 inhibitors clean.
Can't grab it, and there's the initiation again from the rest of Misfits, now surging in towards the Nexus turret. There's already 1 dead. This looks like a game. Misfits are going to expose the Nexus. TSM, perhaps 1 last hurrah.
They have to do something now. It's the only chance. You will be just completely run down by the 6 super minions spawning at a time, but Misfits playing it too well, playing so patiently. Alfari with the double Ocean Dragon is regenning back up, and I think it's all over but the crying for TSM.
Yeah. TSM holding on, all but defeated, and it feels like mental as well as here they go.
Here we go, Maxlore is going to get something, but Bjergsen is getting taken down by Hans Sama. Root is good on to do, but Double actually still dealing decent damage. Flash face, Power of Evil grabs Does Hans Summer steals the kill onto Double if TSM down 2, looking to defend, but I don't think they can.
No, 40 seconds on Kog'Maw. Svenskeren has to base. The minions are crashing. They want to end it now.
I love it from Ignar, popping the ulti, ready to go and going to try and win themselves a fight. Hansa looks to assess their Hans Summer, but he does just get it. Svenskeren able to get it. Oh, TSM actually may have fought their way barely out of this.
I mean, there's too many minions. They're crashing in. The Nexus is dying to all these super minions, and Misfits are going to do it.
They're going to rush the Nexus. These World's rookies, these upstarts with the Nexus open, these Misfits push themselves straight into the quarterfinals. And there it is.
And EU beats NA on the day. Not just once, though. TSM may have beaten them in the first game this time, but revenge is there for all of Europe, it seems.
Elation for Misfits, for Europe, and agony in defeat here for TSM. Again, out in group stages in Worlds 2017. Last year, same roster, high expectations, not able to get past groups. This year, the draw of a lifetime, they felt. People talking about how strong TSM was and how weak this group would be. And the team, Misfits, that was expected to go 0-6 in this group, ends up being the team that knocks TSM out of the entire tournament.
I think living up to their name, Power Beaver with a big smile on his face, continuing to be the kryptonite for Bjergsen and TSM. And what an amazing story for Misfits. We've already joked Challenger of the Worlds was like pretty insane for a new team, but they pushed themselves at least one better to the quarterfinals.
Yeah, how's Challenger to quarterfinals? That's so impressive for this team, and they do continue to improve. And you have to say, with the early game leads that they have been able to establish, if this team is able to improve some of their game closing, if they're able to improve their later stages of the game, they can really challenge some people in the quarterfinals.
They've shown some weaknesses, but they've definitely shown some strengths here on the world stage. TSM, unfortunately, their weakness was too glaring, too obvious, and meant way too much for them. You can't just lose every single early game and expect to continue to scale. You have to be the best team in the world to be able to survive the early game hurdles that you have to leap over to even get to late game.
Yeah, 0 first bloods in 7 attempts for TSM. Their early game never really came online, and they were never able to get going this game at all. Nearly a perfect game, it felt like, for Misfits. 2 kills at the very end for TSM, 1 turret to their name, but the Jace pick was always going to be what the game was centered around. We talked so much in draft and in the early game about how you not only have to go even, you have to smash lane, you have to get a massive advantage, and it just felt like Maxilor and Alphari were more than capable of answering that.
I think it makes sense given what TSM's strengths have shown. Haunter had a great tournament for himself. I think giving him a carry, again, like, you can understand the logic from TSM with the way they went in the draft, but Misfits, they outpicked them, they outthought them, and then straight up outplayed them to give themselves this quarterfinal spot.
And credit where it's due to Maxilor as well for his decision-making, going to the correct area on Summoner's Rift as well, targeting the Cho'Gath lane to keep Haunter down, recognizing that NA's last hope was in that Jace pick, but NA Jace proves too strong.
Yeah.
NA Jace, unfortunately, not looking great. So we're going to sort ourselves up for an interview. Not just yet, but we will have something for you. I mean, again, not going to spend too long on it dwelling, but I mean, obviously for North America, this is heartbreak.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's always been kind of the meme, NA at Worlds Week 2. Mortals start 2-1. They go 0-4 on the day and are eliminated. TSM end up 1-3 on the day and are also eliminated here. Cloud9, the last remaining North American team, did make quarterfinals last year. Are poised to do it as well, but it's certainly heartbreaking for these players who put all year, all this practice into it and have high expectations for themselves, and the fans have high expectations for them, and again, they're not able to meet those.
Yeah, pressure certainly sucks there, and again, TSM didn't even need to be in this spot. If they had beaten Flash Wolves, they wouldn't have maybe ever played this tiebreak, or at least it could have been very different, but couldn't build enough momentum. That's certainly shown in their early games, and Misfits, a team that is quickly improving on the world stage for their first time in 2 weeks. Like, that sentence should not be a thing, but that's where we are now.
Yeah, you have to give credit to Misfits for improving every single game, every single day that they competed in, and that just goes to show what group stage can do for these teams, right? Flash Wolves getting the 1 upset victory, able to change the pace of this entire group. That's all it can take for you to go from top 2 down to the bottom 2, and it proves to be one of the big reasons why TSM had to play this at all.
Yeah, and a lot of it to me, is about adaptation, right? When you look at WE topping this group, coming in with the Caitlyn, smashing early games in their couple games here today, really looking dominant with a new pick. When you look at Misfits, also bringing new picks, despite the fact that the Blitzcrank Yasuo did not work, getting a massive advantage in the early game, bringing in the Thresh and getting a win with that, really trying to up their game and show new styles, and it gets them out of the group.
Well, certainly looking good as Misfits Gaming are ready for the quarterfinals in their first international tournament. So let's head over to Shox and hear from the jungler and AD carry.
Thank you very much, guys. Yeah, joined by Maxlor and Hans Sama. They did it after one of the craziest days in World Group Stage history. Hans Sama, what are your first thoughts? What do you feel after doing that heroic day and making it to quarters?
It obviously feels amazing for me to play my first year in the CS to make Worlds. It was like a huge step for first, and getting into out of group, it feels pretty damn good, and I'll definitely try out my life for the next part.
Yeah, because this is only the beginning. Now, Max, you said when I talked to you on the first days you played, yeah, you got to be there to win everything. You can't go in with a loser's attitude. So, I mean, now the sky is the limit, it seems. But can you first tell me how much it took from you guys after this marathon and of a day, those ups and downs, to finally do it?
It took everything we got, pretty much. We had to, we had so many losses today, actually. I didn't even think we could make it at some point, but you have to fight those thoughts, and everyone on your team has to fight those thoughts, and especially after we lost the WE, you have to instantly refresh and refocus, and it basically took everything we had, yeah.
I can imagine. For the funny side, of course, people they're saying, well, you didn't win versus WE, so you could finish off with the power of Evil Power versus TSM, but I'm sure that wasn't the case. I'm sure the stress was really high, and Hans Sama, on the EU finals, we heard that you guys were quite stressed. How did you manage to keep it under control? Do you feel you've grown throughout this day?
I would say I've grown throughout this day, yeah. I feel less pressure since a while, since the playoff started. I play with mind to not think a lot and play with huge confidence. And for now that worked pretty well. I kind of stepped up in my opinion, and I'm able to carry games now.
You had some fantastic performances. The one-year plan is all we heard. Getting to Worlds. What's the next step, Maxlor?
I want to go home and enjoy my nuggets. So I don't know about you.
You mean home? You still got some matches to play, Max.
Oh, I mean, I'm going to go home in the hotel.
Okay,
yeah.
And enjoy the nuggets.
Yeah, of course.
To jump on that one-year plan, though, you guys have had a great support staff, and I feel like some of those people have done a lot of work behind the scenes to get you here. Hussein, to call out one, how has the crew helped you out on this day and through group so far?
Everyone helped. So even our strategic coach, Hiva, you might know him from Origin, and also people in the background, like our analyst Empire, and our mental sports psychologist that can't be here with us, but God bless wherever he is. But yeah, all these people deserve praise. But honestly, I don't think we should relax because, as I said before, I think we should go in with a winning mindset. And today we lost some games that we shouldn't have, or we had some situations that we never encountered before and we lost because of it. So we need to learn from our mistakes since we're going to play a Seed 1 team, and hopefully we'll fix our mistakes and smash them.
All right, you guys are very calm after such an epic day. I guess you also lost a lot of energy. Is there any final words you'd like to say to the Misfits fans and all the EU fans that you've made very proud? Hans Sama?
Thanks very much for cheering for Misfit, and we hope that we're not going to deceive you. We're going to try our best.
Max?
Misfits fighting!
Misfits fighting. Well, thank you guys very much. Congratulations. Misfits is making it to the quarterfinals. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you very much, Shox. Hats off to Hans Sama, Maxlor, and the entirety of the Misfits organization for what they've achieved, and who knows what else they might achieve at this point, ending their group stages 4-3. Dashing the hopes of North American fans everywhere. TSM in ruins now, 3-4, out of the tournament. I mean, these guys have just shown up, and they've blown everything wide open. They're going to change minds in a similar way to the Gigabyte Marines.
And I'm glad that we got to see this game as well, to remove all doubt. You know, Misfits 100%.
I never doubted.
Crumbs never doubted.
All right, we bow down to Crumbs. All right,
Ain't no thing saw coming.
Kobe, but continue your
The
point.
Misfits 100% deserve their quarterfinal spot, and TSM do not. You know, congratulations to Crumbs as well for his perfect prediction of number 1 and 2 spots.
Thank you. Thank you. You're not going to... there we go. There we go.
The concession, but let's talk about this roster of guys and what they've done here. Again, we saw adaptation from TSM in this game a little bit, indexing a little bit more towards that early game, even putting their trust in the player that had been performing well throughout the tournament. It just wasn't enough.
Yeah, it was all focused on Hanser, and I really want to put a magnifying glass also on Maxlore. You know, they tried to split the map, they invaded the blue buff, they had, Misfits had vision of TSM doing this, and Maxlore had to make the choice. Either go, don't get 3 buffed, I can trade blue, or he decides to go and gank the top lane, burn the flash off of Hanser, and that forced Sven to babysit Hanser. So even when Hanser was going even in his lane, Sven was unable to participate in the mid lane, to participate in the bot lane, and Maxlore just ran the gauntlet on him.
But I also want to highlight how bizarre the draft from TSM was. Tristana being such a key champion for Doublelift, forget about it. They go with Kog'Maw, not sure why. And then the Jace. Why are you picking all of a sudden the carry into the top in Game 7?
You wanted adaptation.
You shouldn't even be playing this game, and you're saving it for now? Why haven't you played this pick earlier? This is a champion and a strategy that arguably the best team in the tournament is running as one of their primary strategies, so obviously it works. If you're using it now, you just are saying, well, somebody's doing it. We might as well try it.
You didn't want them to stick to their old strategy. You don't want them to use a different strategy.
No, I'm thinking Renekton, not Jace.
Okay.
What? Yeah.
There were perhaps some other options for TSM. At the end of the day, it's all moot. They didn't perform with the composition that they picked. We probably would have liked to have seen adaptation out of them sooner in the tournament. It doesn't happen. But I want to focus on this Misfits squad and the task they have ahead of them. Maxlore said himself they are going to have to play a 1 seed. The road doesn't get any easier. But if this team has proven anything to us, it's that they will learn. They have learned. Within the duration of just these 2 weeks, their improvement has been marked.
And it's that they came to win, and they're not playing not to lose, if that makes sense. It feels
absolutely.
like a lot of these teams are playing like this very defensive style where they just kind of wait and swell up, and then they just want to roll over someone in a late game. No, Misfits come crashing in forward. They say we're going to win from minute 1, and we're going to win from minute 55.
Kobe?
Yeah, I mean, the team that's picking Thresh and Blitzcrank in the Ardent Sensor meta is definitely there playing to try and win, to try and upset, you know, to try and create something else.
And that has so much value in this tournament because you need to be making mistakes for you to learn. TSM never attempted anything and never got to learn, whereas the Misfits always shooting for more. Okay, you messed up against WE, you messed up against TSM, but they kept learning and compounding upon their mistakes so that then every single match they become that much better and they're able to adapt on the fly, which is something that we thought they weren't going to be able to do that well. But hey, they did it here, especially with Maxlore's pathing adaptation, which was just brilliant.
After that tiebreaker win, it will be Misfits Gaming advancing to the quarterfinals along with Team WE. Let's also highlight TSM, who are 1 win away from making it to the knockout stage. We look at Group A, who takes the stage tomorrow, and the reigning champions SKT are undefeated at the top. No surprise there, with C9 leading the race for second, ahead of AHQ and EDG. Tomorrow we'll get our final quarterfinalists, starting things off with a clash between SKT and AHQ at 12 p.m. local time. That's 9 p.m. Pacific time and 6 a.m. Central European Summer Time. The teams in Group A will play 3 games each, with our knockout draw coming up at the end of the day.
And the thing is we could have a very similar situation for EDG that we did for TSM today. Yes, they're starting, you know, from a much larger deficit than all of the expectations from TSM from week 1, but it's still the #1 seeds from NA, the #1 seeds from CN, and they could theoretically drop out tomorrow.
Yeah, on top of that, I mean, you've got C9, the last hope of NA, sitting at 2-1. So in prime position to make it out behind SKT, even more so than TSM, who was sitting in that 3-way tie coming in.
But TSM, or rather Cloud9, have looked much better at adaptation throughout the tournament than any other team from North America. And on top of that, they also play the early game a little bit more aggressive. They're willing to make mistakes. They're willing to be aggressive and try to seize a win, which is the traits that we're looking for these teams. Somebody that is trying to not just be here and cruise by. They're trying to say, hey, can we shoot a game? At least the fact that they're saying we can take a game off SKT is enough to inspire confidence and say, hey, they're prepared, or they're they're shooting for the stars.
I was talking to Contracts, and he actually said the same thing as Maxlor after I congratulated him on one of their wins and finishing the group #2.
Right.
He said, we're not looking for #2. They're looking to win the entire thing and actually come out as the seed 1.
You got to have that mentality.
Awesome of a storyline would it be that TSM fall, and it's the team that has kind of recently been struggling to take down TSM that can be the last pride for North America and make it out.
Yeah, I mean that's the NA rivalry, right? That is TSM C9 and CLG sometimes sliding in there, but really it's C9 TSM. Kobe, any more thoughts?
I mean, we've been in this situation before where Cloud9 is NA's last hope. See if they can pull it off this time.
I mean, and also too, the interesting thing about tomorrow's games, we heard Rusty talking about it. You can't really be a team that rests on your laurels and sits back and hopes to get to the late game unless you're the best team in the world. Well, we might get a look at that team tomorrow. We'll see. I'm not necessarily calling SKT definitively the best team in the world, but they are the team that is typically best at absorbing pressure. So the question is, will any of these other teams be able to break that?
SKT do get the pass of just being SKT, so we basically accept all their mistakes and saying, all right, well, unless you show us something awful.
But that comes from faith and adaptation, right? Because in previous tournaments, when they do make a mistake, we see them learn from it, unlike, for example, what TSM has most recently shown us.
I mean, EDG came pretty damn close to getting a game off SKT with that 10,000 gold lead. So, there's definitely a shot for a team taking a game there.
All right, one more day of action, 6 more games, plus maybe some spice breakers. Who knows? Be sure to hit us up at LOL Esports with your world's big plays from the week, as we'll highlight them after tomorrow's games. Remember to stay tuned for Worlds Tonight with Freak, Rusty, and Kobe, starting in just a few minutes as we take a look at the day's games. Now for myself, the casters, and the entire live broadcast crew, thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow for more Worlds 2017. Good night. Our closest group coming into the day. Are you ready for another 6 games of craziness? If they can start off on the right foot, we're looking at a very scary European squad here.
Watch for Swordart with the Shen off. He gets hooked though. Gotta be careful. He goes down immediately. Swordart still doesn't get the quickness in. Watch it. Watch it. Fighting! Misfits close the door on the Flash Wolves Worlds run.
If you want first place, you're gonna have to find victories in these games.
Double it backing up, double it kiting, getting the damage in, but I don't think it's gonna be enough. The flame spinner right in his face, and it's gonna be 957, the triple.
It's Team WE in front of the home crowd that shut down TSM.
MMD is gonna get a little bit more delivered. There's the chop down, another kill for Mystics. Caitlyn pick 12-5. Team WE take down Flash Wolves.
EU versus NA once again, and for almost all the marbles this time. For TSM, it is. Bifrost needs to move back in and try and take that's off of the shield, but he gets hooked up by Ignar. Power of Evil still chasing in, and Bifrost not gonna make it.
Twitch is useless. We win. Nice.
Jab no flash. Sarah, I kill Ryze as well. Yasuo. I kill Brooks.
The cons are fucking really panicked right now.
Yep.
So just calm down.
Into the back of a combo, there to get the front line down, and Dublin letting rip on the Twitch. Dublin with a great flank to get the damage down. That's 2 already. Now from Haunter, gets him in there. Summer knocked him on the other end as TSM. They will keep their hopes alive here at Worlds and take down Misfits. Maple still firing away, almost grabbed a triple. MMD now dominating as he takes that one down. Again, Haunter stunned up, but it's the Nexus turret just getting torn to shreds. And Flash Wolves, they may only win once, but it hurts so bad.
Nice. I can flash on the roof. Go.
Nice.
They cam at the miasma, scope and power. The final shot of Culling. They fall behind, they come back late, and they keep their dreams alive.
No, just go to the next game. It's best of 1, but nothing else matters.
This game I just want us to play, to win. Don't play not to lose.
I don't have shockwave. I've cheated too. Nice goal.
Nice.
Go bound.
I speed you.
Nice.
Root is good on to do, but Dolan actually still dealing decent damage. Flashbang! These world rookies, these upstarts, these misfits push themselves straight into the quarterfinals. actually still dealing decent damage. Flashbang, Power Removal grabs on his Hans Summer, seals the kill onto Double Imp. They're going to rush the Nexus. These World Rookies, these upstarts with the Nexus open. These Misfits push themselves straight into the quarterfinals.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Worlds Tonight, where we talk about everything that happened at Worlds tonight. It's a very obvious name. I'm David Freak Turley, speaking of names. Joined here by Zach Rusty Pie and Sam Kobe Hartman Kensler, the caster duo known as Krusty. I decided.
As of now.
It's a great duo name. You're welcome.
The caster duo not known as Krusty.
Not known as Krusty. I was just kidding. Either way, we had a pretty exciting group. Group D happened today. Much to the chagrin of North America, that storyline continued. But hey, the Chinese LPL, Team WE 5-1 topped the group, and boy, did they look better doing it.
Yeah, Team WE looked fantastic. Misfits also being second is a big win for all of EU. NA being knocked out, devastating, I am sure. But that is the place that I would be looking at, of course, as an LPL caster. Team WE looked incredible.
Yeah, your phrase there, Freak, of the looking good while doing it was definitely true, especially the first 2 games from WE. Mystic on this Caitlyn pick, hadn't been seen before. Even Mithy, who was on the desk with us, was like, well, you know, this wasn't even a part of the boot camp. Like, this wasn't a part of the meta. That wasn't even a champion for us when we were talking about pick bans. And he absolutely smashed his lane with it 2 times in a row. They snowball very effectively. They siege, and they finish out these games very cleanly.
And that's something that interests me a lot, really, especially at Worlds, where the patch doesn't change, but week over week, the game does anyway because teams learn and teams evolve, both in the quality and the way they play, but also in the very discernible choices they make, like champions, like the Caitlyn coming out for the first time. We saw Misfits bring out Trundle a few times as well. That started pulling bans and whatnot. It's very interesting seeing the adaptations of teams.
Yeah, Caitlyn's the perfect example of exactly this. The best teams at Worlds, even if they do poorly in week 1 or shaky in week number 1, can come back in the second week. They can adapt. They can grow and be some of the best teams that you've ever seen. Caitlyn's a good example. Trundle from Europe is another one, even adapting in week number 1. The ability to just change on the fly, but also learn from mistakes and fix everything that quickly is commendable.
You guys didn't like the Thresh and Blitzcrank adaptation?
I did.
Trying to go against the Ardent wave.
Yeah, Ardent Sensor or non-Ardent Sensor versus Ardent Sensor is 1-1 right now. Misfits got a win and a loss with it. I do love seeing those adaptations personally.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Except for the Yasuo part of it, I will take away. Maybe one too many adaptations in the whole team.
I appreciate the effort, but you're right, it didn't quite fit in that time around, although I still want to see some more carry tops happen. I do want to talk briefly about Ardent Sensor more specifically as an item. I see all the comments online, oh, your AD carry has 7 items. And it's like, well, an item like Locket or Redemption just gives health to everyone, so everyone has 7 items with other support items as well. Specifically what Ardent Sensor does, though, on like a mathematical level, is it's a better power spike early on. The buff doesn't scale, and the value of 25 attack speed, when you've got like 3 Zeals and a Rage Blade, is not nearly as high, and the 25 on hit damage is not nearly as high as it is when you buy it at 13 minutes.
Especially whenever any item's gold efficiency is this much above other items, it's always going to be most powerful when you first buy it, and that only is enhanced by the actual stats that it's giving.
Yeah, and I feel like, once again, if you have the Blitzcrank or the Thresh, the innovation, and you still get to that late game stage, it's a real possibility that your supports are equally strong and that the Ardent Sensor doesn't provide a lot. The one thing that does still exist, of course, is something like a Kog'Maw or a Twitch that will then cut the slack up, make up the slack rather, and still make Ardent Sensor look incredibly bonkers when it's more so just the champion.
Yeah, and obviously the item's good. The teams are buying it for a reason. It's not like we're going to see the item disappear from the metagame entirely. I do want to move on to some of the more specific things that happened today. 3 big matchups that really broke the group apart. First one up, WE beating TSM. This is that first game where the Caitlyn came out. The first game where we saw WE look absolutely amazing. 2-1 into this one, and they smashed.
Yep, WE absolutely shellacked their opponents in this game. TSM, I mean, didn't really seem like they were ready to play as fast as what Team WE were doing, and it just started from getting 1 turret, then it was 6 turrets, and then the game was completely over. And I know you were very hyped about this, Kobe. It was a full siege comp.
Yeah, I haven't seen that in a very long time. You know, they have the Janet Caitlyn bottom lane. You push down this turret. They're able to just wear it down over time. They get their CS lead that way. Then they rotate the duo up, take the next outer turret, rotate up to the top. Then you have these 3 outer turret leads where not only does it give you this big gold advantage, but a lot more, you know, area on the map to work with. And TSM also didn't look like they had played against anything like a Siege Cup in quite a long time. So there were a lot of kills that they gave over where a couple of people were still standing at one of these turrets that was going down, or they weren't ready for one of the other members of Team WE to be roaming because they had opened up that extra area. And it just looked like as Rusty said, they're completely caught off guard.
And legend has it, Xie never missed an EQ combo as well, especially on DeBioFrost and the middle lane 1v1. Xie was nuts in that game.
He was absolutely incredible. It's fun to see new stuff come out. The Jace mid certainly worked very well for the Chinese squad. TSM has had bad early games the entire tournament. I think they were still first bloodless in 7 games. I think they still had 0 kills at 15 minutes across 7 games as well. Just very rough early games. They never seemed to fix it week over week, whereas the other teams obviously got better. Next matchup we wanted to look at was WE beating Misfits here in this one. Big player this one was also Mystic on the Kog'Maw, because this was a very big comeback for WE.
Oh, yeah, and it's a lot of how the lane started. You see here, the kills starting on bottom side. Maxlore once again goes down to the Misfits bottom lane to gank for them, and they were able to snowball quite effectively off of that for the beginning. But then Team WE, especially with the Lulu plus Kog'Maw combo, were able to take this one back.
Yeah, a couple of really nice individual plays from Team WE, and also just the fact that Mystic has the strategy of put your face in it, and if it doesn't work, keep putting your face in it until it does. Being able to get the kills towards the mid to later stages of the game shows that Team WE are very aware of the fact that Mystic is going to do exactly that.
And junglers were also highlighted in this one, I think in all day long, actually, because not only did junglers that had early game impacts find success, but also the junglers with those engages later on, right? The crowd control landing at the perfect time in a team fight and trying to actually find that AD carry, those were the big moments that we look back on.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's another sort of metagame point because you're playing low engaged support, so the way in has to come from somewhere else. Oftentimes it is the jungler. We see a lot of these Ezreals fail because there's no way into the fight afterwards, and it just ends up being something teams have to make sure that they're conscious of as time goes on. One other game we want to talk about, the last important one in the matchup, the tiebreaker between Misfits and TSM, the one that WE gave them the chance to get, and it was Misfits.
Yep, it was definitely Misfits' focus from the very beginning. The cool thing about this game as well was the change up in strategy from Maxlore in the jungle role, going towards the Jace, trying to target Hauntzer out. And granted, that's a very good idea if Hauntzer wants to win his lane. Feels like the kind of player that gets a little bit hyphy and tries to put extra pressure on himself in big games. They played around it well.
Worth noting as well that this was an attempt by TSM to change their strategy and adapt to the way that the day was going. You know, they pick an earlier game matchup. They have Svenskeren start on that side of the jungle. He counter jungles very heavily to protect Hauntzer, leaves a ward in the jungle. He also takes the Scuttle Crab, but he doesn't also cut off the other path through his own jungle, which you don't have any extra wards and there's no way to really see that, which Maxlore immediately makes a beeline for, and he passed by all this vision, and that's why he was able to get up there. And as well, the Alphari playing that Cho'Gath definitely deserves credit as well.
Yeah,
it was just a lot of things Misfits had answers for already, and it seemed like the adaptations from TSM were just coming a bit too late.
Right, because the choices were to get some better laners, blind the Jace, pick Karma into a melee matchup. Like, they should do well top, they should do well bot lane. Bot lane was good for TSM, but because of, as you mentioned, Maxlore's jungle intervention, the Jace matchup went equal to Cho'Gath, which is a death sentence just automatically for Hauntzer there, a player who had done well throughout the tournament. He survived ganks okay, but eventually the outscaling happened, and I mean, much better team fighting for Misfits, quite obviously. So, huge stuff out of that group. We're going to move on to talking about what's happened overall at Worlds, though. The top 6 at the World Championship. We have 6 of the top 8 so far. 2 Chinese teams pulling #1 seeds, a Korean one up there as well with Longzhu Gaming, of course, Fnatic, Misfits, Samsung Galaxy as lower seeds heading into the quarterfinals with 1 group left to show.
And it feels good to be a Chinese caster right about now as well. 2 teams getting out as the first seeds. If ever there was a spot you wanted to be to not only dodge each other and have the awkward quarterfinals, but to dodge Koreans, they are set up for success.
Yeah, I mean, people are always debating, oh, what's the second best region? Because Korea's got the crown and has it. Yeah, there you go, Freak.
By a lot.
What he said. China's fantastic this year.
And of course, we saw that Fnatic came back from the 0-3x0-4 start to make the run into the top 8, so EDG can still do that as well. It's actually very interesting because we've had almost every regional winner, especially if you count play-in teams, has lost out already. G2's gone, TSM's gone, Flash Wolves is gone. Okay, Longzhu made it in, but then Turkish, like every other region's lost their #1 spot already. Their #1 teams have died out. It's pretty much SKT is the #2 and Edward Gaming's the #1 left up here as that run.
I guess the question is, which narrative do we really follow here, Freak? Is it the fact that first seeds can't get victories at the world stage,
or is it China and Korea are better?
And is it the China-Korea better? I don't know which one we're going to end up with. EDG are a bit of a wild card. It's very hard to predict.
It's going to be a fun one either way. Exciting stuff in the top 8. Kobe, your thoughts?
Super looking forward to tomorrow. I mean, everybody from North America is a little bit kind of empty right now, but they have to remember there is another hope Cloud9
Yes.
will also be playing tomorrow. And you talk about the way they're starting the standings. EDG is definitely scary, but Cloud9 have a big lead on them with those 2 wins from week 1.
Yeah, it can almost guarantee, like, if you beat AHQ, it makes it nearly impossible. They own the head-to-head over AHQ. They are at 3 wins themselves. It makes it a pretty likely scenario. But the meme is still alive for North America, for Cloud9 to lose 4 straight games, being the 3-way tiebreaker under the 6-0 SKT. It's waiting for it to happen.
Yeah, I think we're going to learn a lot from game number 2. Game number 1, AHQ vs SKT, is a cool match to watch, but the second game means so much for the standings implications. NA's hopes can still be alive. I personally thought that Cloud9 were the best-looking North American team coming into the tournament as well. High hopes for them and still high expectations for tomorrow.
We'll see what happens. Who can meet expectations? SKT take the other #1 seed, and you have 2 Chinese, 2 Korean #1s. That's probably the most likely one. See if that happens. That's going to do it for us here at Worlds tonight. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you tomorrow for the exciting end of the group stage to see which of the last 2 teams to the top 8, and we'll see you there before quarterfinals. Take care.